Are we on the internet? Neto, say hi to stream. Yellow. Trying getting some relevant data points for this encounter or for this particular session going. Interested in seeing what I can find. Hmm. This time around, let's try and here I should probably provide some context, I guess. That should be pretty important, right? Usually is. Usually. Not sure how relevant it is in this case, but right now it's decently relevant. Doop 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 doop. Drop. Wah, 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 wah. Alright. This is a good setup. Yeah, it's about sunset, so I'm just... Sunset? No, it's evening. So just getting ready. I guess now is a pretty good time to get my own notes sorted out. So I have them all in one place, and so I can actually refer to them at moment's notice. Oh, it's getting cold. What's the weather today? The rest of today? I should look. It's pretty important. -12. So it's still pretty hella windy, huh? And it'll get colder at 8 p.m. Eh. Eh. I'm sure we'll live. I'm sure we'll be fine. I'm sure we'll survive. I think what would be useful though would be to go into Roll20, right? And to sign in and then actually take a screenshot of the stuff that I've done so far. That could be pretty useful. I would imagine. Oh, cat. Cat. So I guess the important thing I should do is probably copy paste this and use as reference point afterwards. Boop. Well, this is too big. Here we go. That's better. Right. Do do do. All right. Cool. So the big thing to note is that this is. Can Is this a regular font? And that's this regular font. All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and say this is Emir session 50, 53. I want 52, 53. This one's 53. Session 53, and we're at Ragend, the ruins, F Ash, up in the top left corner over there. Huge. I should get my stuff sorted out over here, shouldn't I? I really should. Probably pretty worth. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this onto my ultra wide. Here we go. Boop. Okay, sick. So, I mean, I'm kind of interested now, aren't I? So it's Ragged Ruins of Ash. So recap. I should put a recap down somewhere over here. Recap. Uh, some important stuff to note is oh true. Oh true. Oh, true. Yeah, okay. So so here's the thing. I probably need to get some reference images to make it clear what the hell is going on in the first place, right? What kind of a GM would I be if I didn't have reference images? Come on. Boop. Doobity doop doop. We go back over here. All right, let's go ahead and paste that. Oop. All right, sick. So this should be showing up on stream. It sure is. All right. What does this all mean? What does this all mean? Well, I'm glad you asked because I have a great story to tell. Ooh, there's some really good artwork. I'm afraid to use these, man. Using this will be pretty sick. Okay, so I guess I should ask the stream about this because that'd be pretty nice, wouldn't it? Okay, here, let's get some context going. I actually quite like this because it makes sense. Wow, that's big. Wow. Let's wow, make that a little bit smaller. Move around a little bit. All right. I think that should be good for All right, so here's the recap. Recap one: dwarf abjuration wizard dead. Uh, died to trap. Uh, died to. I think I particularly call it a died to greed trap. Consequences yet to manifest. We had some pretty space time. So dynamis trap on Civilians from the Age of Arcanum, and we had doopity doop 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 doop. Other important thing is Lich, Barbarian, Ragnar, Rag, and derivative, Slayer, reaching Tierra, Tiefling, yet to be seen, last scried in combat. Alright, so we have a good recap over here, kind of taking us through what happened last time on the session campaign, and then we have kind of the giant like session being like, oh, here we go, hurdy, here we go. Right, and so now, so the way I like to approach D&D encounter design is obviously the weaving in the narrative that the players have previously crafted, but from a design perspective, what I would like to do is try and tap into a couple of important things. And here, let me go ahead and start looking for where I'm trying to. So the first thing that I want to kind of cite, in a sense, is oops, shit, positive psych. All right, so the first thing I want to share was in a very simple kind of way. I wanted to share the flow curve, but more specifically, I kind of wanted to share what that means for my players. So over the course of some time now, I have, unfortunately, unfortunately for them, kind of trained them to become friends with anxiety, and the reason why that kind of works is an interesting story, which I will get into in a bit. But first, I want to try and see if I can insert a shape here. Just a white shape. Is it possible? Come on, it's gotta be right. Secrets research reforms. Maybe not. I don't know. Draw shape. Yeah, okay, I can draw a square. There we go. So let's go ahead and quickly draw a white shape over here. Can I fill this? Ink to shape. Huh? I can't. Unfortunate. Alright, never mind. This ain't no paint, I guess. Unfortunately, we have to live with this flow curve. Because I can't find anything which has white text in it, unfortunately. So that's gonna suck. Oh wait, no, here's a decent image I could use. It's not transparent. There we go. All right. All right. So, I guess the thing to really talk about here is how does all of the stuff that I have on screen right now correlate to what I'm trying to show you guys. In my DM prep, what I like to do often at times is recap kind of all the incidents that have taken place and how they are relevant to each other, particularly in the sense of what they mean to each other and the correlation and how it affects the players. The way I like to kind of do this is by focusing almost extensively on trying to build an encounter that is player driven or player facing. As a DM, I don't necessarily like to prep a bajillion amounts of content ahead of time. I do enjoy my improv, but what I like to do is just have an idea of the various different branches and the way the world can react to the players and their decision making. So I want to take a look at that today a little bit closer. And the way that's going to work is we're going to dig just a tiny bit deeper into what exactly that would mean for the players now. So the players have gone ahead and found themselves in an interesting situation where they are currently approaching. Um, so they're in a spot where they're in like the Lich Barbarians' lair. They found themselves there, yada yada yada. They're trying to reunite with a friend, acquaintance rather, that they require the assistance of in order to get to their end goal, which is the giant elm tree at the center of the continent. Um, and they need to cross Lake Rodar, which has previously been impenetrable because it's covered by a bunch of fog, which no one can ever pass through. Classic kind of European fantasy stuff. So instead, so what we've got over here is that what now they've arrived in this kind of lair. They don't know what to expect coming in here because not many people have traveled to this area because it's so deadly. And these adventurers now level 12, I believe, level 11, level 12, something like that. I often estimate. I view the players less in terms of level and more in terms of utility and tools. So the players are currently the equivalent of a level 15 party in terms of their tools. Because I've been generous with kind of the items that they have, and I've been trying to make them feel as cool as possible. And that is my objective. My personal objective as a DM is to make them feel as cool as possible while doing so. And so a big part of that comes from trying to understand how the interaction space between what they're expecting and the flow curve kind of mapped one to one with each other. So the first way I'd kind of do that is using the flow curve. So in positive psychology, the flow curve is effectively this narrow range and channel in between anxiety and boredom, based on a Y of challenge and an X of skill that I'm kind of highlighting over here. Um, and so when players are kind of at the right level of anxiety and the right level of boredom, and they're in the middle, going up and down like a squiggly line, kind of in the middle. Yeah, let me draw this out over here real quick. If they're going, oh come on, can I not draw on this? I can draw on this, right? Come on, boop 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 boop. There we go. Wham 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 wham. So the players, ideally speaking, throughout a single battle, and this is actually like it applies to all levels of the game, not just the combat, but also the regular encounters. They should experience kind of this range of, boredom and anxiety. So this is the optimal experience, theoretically. The optimal experience lies in that small channel. But as naturally we know that in our D&D games we often like to have spikes of both as well. We like to have spikes of the shopping episodes, which are much less anxious and much more to do with on the boredom side of the spectrum. And then we have really intense sessions where people are like dying, PCs are dying, it's getting really intense. Character motives are changing, there's betrayal, whatever, whatever, whatever. And those are like high anxiety moments. Um, and that's fine within a game. That's also a meta flow curve. Having those gaps of boredom in between moments of anxiety is also effectively a meta flow curve, right? So for in my particular case over here, I need to make an encounter that is effectively a boss fight. So next up, this thing is going to be a boss fight. And when I say it's going to be a boss fight, what I really mean is versus the Lich Barbarian. And this should ideally be the way things are going right now. This is going to try and almost be somewhat of a challenge for them, right? To fight the Lich Barbarian. And this is important for a few reasons. Because this is going to basically introduce them to the concept. This is kind of exposing more about the world. So the dungeon that they're in right now is a part of this ongoing narrative about the Age of Arcanum, which, similar to Critical Role, it effectively, there was a calamity war that happened, and this entire civilization that's been ruined has been underneath the sands for a very, very long time. And so the dungeon they're in right now is actually like a hallway of of effectively a kind of a lab or a safe haven of some sort that existed for the people when the calamity struck. And so, as they were traversing, they found like people frozen in time that they couldn't do anything about as they were traversing through there. Strange trapped fiends that had just been stuck in cages that were trying to negotiate with them that they just chose not to talk to at all. And then they found this really strange chair, which they sat on. They got a permanent +1 to their wisdom, a very good reward for just sitting on a chair. And there's a whole like narrative stuff to that, but um, they try to do it again, and this is something that's classically called the greed trap. The greed trap is super cool because what ends up happening is when a person sits on the chair a second time, um, it has an adverse effect instead of having a beneficial effect because it lulls you into a false sense of security. And straightforwardly, what ended up happening was the character died and had to be revivified. So because I treat like death as a particularly special event in everything, and it's fairly important. I kind of want to make it something that actually has consequence. Like dying is not that simple, right? It has consequences. Um, because they're traveling around with two people who are a paladin and a warlock of the Matron of Ravens, the infamous death god. Um, and so naturally, like they are the ones keeping tabs on who dies and who lives effectively, and to prevent undeath or to. So what's happening here is a Lich barbarian is is a Lich against his will. He was an adventurer. Was an adventurer and couldn't leave the grasp of this entity, the Somnovum, because why don't we steal from Critical Role? There's no reason we shouldn't steal. Um, so blah blah blah. Lich is against his will. Killing the grass of the Somnovum. All right, we have some backstory. So now, I guess the next thing to kind of look at and kind of really analyze from a perspective that is not just backstory, we want to actually put mechanics into this. So what's been happening is, and I kind of want to share this. Over time, as the players have been casting high level spells, I have I have been stealing spells from the players. So when they cast a spell at a spell slot of I believe fourth level or above, I make them roll a d100, and when they roll a d100, if they if they roll high, I think if they the DC I was using 55, if they roll above 55, no, the 60. If they roll above 60, then that spell is basically grabbed from them. They the opponent in some future instance can use it. The theory behind this is that this giant beast you see like over here next to this thing over here, that they encountered this earlier. We're just roaming around the entire place. What they don't know is that what I like to call this guy the Ashen Wanderer. The Ashen Wanderer, players don't know this, is the phylactery. This thing is 300 feet tall. Is the size of a mountain. Is the size of a mountain. Um, this thing is the size of a mountain. So this thing is the size of a mountain, and is going to be very exciting. So I like to I like the idea. I just can't came up with stumbled across it while I was trying to build this setting. Is that I would like my players who this some of them this is their very first D&D campaign. I would like them to experience fighting a lich because that is kind of a D&D classic. Um, and so that's why I wanted to make this Lich Barbarian, because you all always see kind of Lich Wizards and stuff like that, right? But we don't see many Lich Barbarians. Um, so the important thing here is, um, it's really cool to have like a, here's a reference. Uh, this is kind of the reference image, right? Right over here. This is the reference image. It's Shadow of the Colossus. And so what I really want is the players to have this. The players have already had this moment where they have seen up close how massive this thing is, right? And seeing how massive this creepy ass thing is, like, it's gonna be hella cool when the players actually get to finally. The players ran away from it the first time. Why did they run away from it? Well, they ran away from it because they didn't feel like they could take it on. And honestly, that was a wise decision because they have no idea how to kill this thing. They have no idea how to bring down a mountain sized colossus. This thing is the size of a mountain. The I should be putting point breakers over here. Boop, boop. Just to separate information correctly and into chunks for my own consumption. So Ashen Wanderer, this thing is the size of a mountain, right? And so the the Lich knows how to break it, how to defeat it, but cannot due to the shared mind, the hive mind. But cannot due to the hive mind. And here's a note for self. Give me a coach. Anyway, so that's just a note for myself. Don't bother about that. The important thing over here is that we have a party. We have a couple of parties over here that are both interesting in their own right. One of the parties here is the Lich. Another party is the Phylactery. The Phylactery is more of this archaic kind of creation of the shared hive mind that is kind of sucking. So the Ashen Wanderer is a dream stealer. Dream stealer that's attracted to magic. So it's like a bee to a flower. You know what I mean? It's the same concept that the Ashen Wanderer is a phylactery, a moving, living colossus of a phylactery that is attracted to magic and it steals the dreams. And so the players have already seen the kind of the frozen people that have been frozen in time. They have seen the 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 Ashen Wanderer stealing. I've revealed to them that the dreams are being stolen, and they themselves have also lost dreams in the process because they tried to take a long rest and they kind of sort of failed. Um, and that's an important thing to note. So the Lich knows how to defeat it, but cannot. Um, that's and this is where the party steps in. This is where the party steps in. The paladin and warlock are bound by contract to deliver the Lich from his fate. And so there is already motive. And because there's already motive, the party is bound to follow because there are at least two members out of the five people in the party who want to accomplish this task, and they're already this deep in. So if I wanted to go ahead and break down party objectives over here, I can. So party objective is one, find Tierra. That's their number one objective. Rather, bring Tierra back. bring Tierra back. And kill the Lich. Kill undead. And there's been a lot of undead presence. And so their path to bring Tierra back has already led them into the Lich's lair. That's because the two intertwined. Because the very specific ritual that Tierra needed is nested in the Lich's presence and in his dash. And the next thing they want to do is that they want to kill the undead, because the undead are a super pivotal part of a Lich's identity, as they usually are. And so they've already encountered tons of undead, like, already, right? But here's the thing. The Lich knows how to defeat the phylactery, but cannot do the hive mind. And this is where the party steps in. The Paladin and Warlock are bound by contract to deliver the Lich from his fate. So, um, here's how this is generally going to go. If Here, let me break this down a little bit further. So right now the party is right over here, right? Party's over here. They're just about to enter kind of the Lich's lair, which is the portal that they have uncovered. So just about to enter deeper into this dungeon almost, and they're about to get confront the Lich effectively. And this is like we're already reaching endgame over here, so this is going to be interesting. So the Lich knows how to defeat it, and so what we really need to do here, I think what I need to do here is create two exciting encounters. My party objectives, so DM objectives. Create two fun encounters. Fun is really terrible. Create a revealing encounter, and create a badass Shadow of the Colossus raid. Skill challenge combat encounter. Skill challenge combat. I'll just call it that. Alright. So this is the DM objectives and this is the party objectives. Nice. So we have both of those things now. And this is great because this is the general theme. So they've got this and this is pretty great. So the Lich knows how to defeat it, but cannot do the high mind. The party steps in, the wall might deliver the Lich from his fate. Alright, that looks great. The Ashen Wanderer is a phylactery. And so, therefore, the Lich himself wants to destroy the phylactery, but is unable to, because Ragnar wants to be free of his faith. He wants to go to the afterlife, and he wants to proceed on, because he feels like he's blocked by this high mind. All right. So, is the Lich against his will? He made you share his mind. Seriously. All right. So, either way, right now we have this. So we want the revealing counter to be the Lich fight, and then we want the fight after that, or the encounter after that, to be the big kind of revealing moment, right? Okay, so how would I design this right now? I think the way I would approach this is to create an interesting, to finally make use of all the spells that I've taken from the party, and kind of use them all in a fight and showcase kind of the power of what's happened and what they've brought upon themselves. An important thing I think I should probably be utilizing to my advantage right now is that Paladin rolled 100 on Wild Magic. Right. I can't forget that. That's actually kind of relevant to this. So, alright. I think that is pretty important because that's gonna play a part. So I'm gonna go ahead and we have level 100 smite. So that's gonna be fun to use against the party. Might bring someone down. Reminder to self as party if they have diamonds. Because if they don't, they might need to resurrect a party member. And they might not have the means to do so. But we'll see. This encounter obviously is meant to be deadly, but it's also meant to be fairly challenging in the broadest sense. There will be a little bit more strategy to this encounter in specific, just because Ragnar is an accomplished adventurer and probably knows how the stuff works. Hello, nerdy drunken monkey goblin. I promise not to touch your booze. I don't drink very often myself, actually. So you'll have to tell me exactly how it feels to be drunk as a monkey. Okay. So dissecting it further, I think the next step probably down the list over here is gonna be making Lich fight. And for this, we're going to be using something called action-oriented combat, which is obviously a concept from the good old Matt Colville. We want to see what the enemy can do in reaction to players, and as the state of the game changes, so the moveset is varied enough where it makes for interesting encounters and strategic decisions. So for now, let's make the Lich fight, and we might have to make the Colossus for later. So the Lich fight is basically definitely going to happen because Tierra is already in combat with them. So that's going to be important. Tierra is engaged in combat. So Lich fight is gonna, so this is gonna last until players convince him that they can free him. That is the thing. All right. And there'll be plenty of prompts, and this is basically going to end up happening regardless, just because of the fact that there are two of the party members are bound by contract to destroy the phylactery. Therefore, they will have to somehow convince this guy to let them go and destroy the phylactery, and give the information as to how to beat it up. I haven't thought of that yet, but I'll get to it later. The important thing over here is to make sure that we have to identify the goals of this combat. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit further, and I'm going to do something called goals of combat. One, for me, is to challenge the players with their own tools, which is why I've stolen spells across the last 3 sessions. So this is the culmination of all that spell stealing, basically. The next goal of the combat over here is to reveal more about the Mad Mages. Or I call them Somnovan for now. Name in progress. The next thing we want to do is we want to talk a little bit more about, I want to reveal more about the ritual, the tree. Well, Tierra can do that later, so we might get around to that towards the end. The goal of the combat, very specifically right now, is to put his own tools, get the players to negotiate their way out of it. To make the players, to get the players to think strategically. They're already really good at this, so I'm just going to challenge them a little bit more on the strategic front. But these are my goals for the combat. So I'm going to go ahead and actually divide this into a few sections. So as per D&D rules, we have actions, we have bonus actions, we have reactions. So this is pure homebrew at this point, which is always exciting. All right. So we need to get a good list of actions, bonus actions, and reactions going as the Lich responds to the various different kinds of things happening. So first, what I want to do before I make any of this is make a strategic setup as to kind of understand exactly what the priority targets are for the players. So a Lich, obviously, undead commander, by definition. And so let's go ahead and try and actually make an interesting layout. So if you have a room, so let's go make a shape real quick. Let's go make a square room. So let's say this is our room over here. I'll move that kind of up over here. All right. So this is our room. Let's say the players enter, from here. So, oh, this is the entry point. All right, the players arrive over here. What do they see? Well, one thing I want them to see for sure is I want them to see the big bad. So we want to see the Lich King. So Lich is over here. I don't like that color. There we go. All right. Let's actually be more specific about this. Does it show up properly? No, it doesn't. Can I add a new pen? I want to add a new pen. I want to make it nice and golden. Oh, rainbow. All right. So the Lich is over here. Awesome. And then we have enemies. So we need to have undead, and I've already revealed a few different kinds of undead to the players, and that's going to be their minions. But effectively, what we really need is the Lich King is over here. The Lich Barbarian is over here. He's always going to be a melee fighter, therefore he's going to be up in front. But that's going to be like phase 2, so that's a good idea. Let me go write that down. So we want phase 1. Let me write that down over here. Phase 1. Command and conquer. And then phase 2 is going to be the Brawn of the Lich Barbarian. That's what I'm gonna title them. I like that name. All right. So the command and conquer, Lich is gonna sit at the back and command his units, as the Lich King does. We have middle row, so we have back row of ranged DPS. We have middle row of counter spellers, middle row of counter spells plus magic DPS. Actually, one middle row of range DPS plus heals. Let's give them two purposes because I think that might actually make it easier to segregate classifications. So we have back row of range DPS plus heals, and then, well, it's an undead army, so healing the undead army makes no sense. What they should be doing is, yeah, we don't need to heal undead, so forget about the heals, man. If they're undead, we're just gonna use undead stuff. Let's go ahead and look at 5e tools real quick. Go to 5e tools and let's look up some cool undead abilities that other undead have. All right. Search. Humanoid, fiend, humanoid, any race, bandits. All right, Death Knight. Okay, let's go to Death Knight. Death Knight is AC 20, hit points 180, challenge 17. Okay, cool, cool. Death Knight is basically a lich in this sense. Parry. Death Knight adds +6 to the AC against the one melee attack that would hit. That's a reaction. Now I'm stealing that. That's good. Add 6 to AC. Yeah. All right. That's 6 to AC plus attack. Plus single attack. Nice. Single melee attack. That's cool. I like stealing that. That's actually a pretty cool ability. I didn't know that Death Knights had. Death Knights generally have some interesting spells. So let's go ahead and add some spell casting over here because they can. Uh, spell flags. Stolen spellcast. That's cool. I think that actually makes a lot of sense because they get to make some cool. Yeah. All right. So as a bonus action, they can basically look at the spell list that we have over here, kind of up over here, and you can go ahead and use that. So let me actually bring that down over here. Bring party objectives up here, DM objectives up here, and the reminder up here. All right, cool. So what we have over here is the stolen spell list. I'm going to go ahead and do this and say stolen spell list. So these are spells that have been stolen from the players so far. And this guy's going to have access to those spells effectively. So he can cast that as a bonus action. Again, the idea is to make this really challenging. And so getting a bonus action to cast a level spell, I'm going to homebrew my way out of that and say that it's stored in a crystal. It's like kind of lodged into his back, and so he gets to use that as a spell cast. He's not using any focus or the spell components. He gets to automatically cast that spell as a bonus action. And that is the bonus action effectively, which gives this guy a lot more threat. And plus, we're using alternate initiative. And alternate initiative means that the entire party goes at the same time, so they can be more strategic in nature. So naturally, Lich King should also be able to act strategically and make important, intelligent decisions. This guy's been alive for so many years, and he has the wisdom of the mad mages plus his own battle experience being a barbarian to go back on. So naturally, it's going to be a hard fight naturally. So having access to a stolen spell list, I've been building up to this for the last 3 sessions, so I've got to use this and make this really really cool. And I think it would be really cool if I do get to do that. So spellcasting, let's go Death Knight spell list real quick. So Death Knights can use command. I think command is a good spell. I think I'm gonna actually use compel the duel. Compel the duel is more like what Ragnar, the undead lich barbarian, would use. I think he should be able to use hold person. Maybe. Do you want to limit their movement? Do you want to limit the player's movement? Would that be fun for them? Probably not. But would it make for a cool scene? Yes. Yes, it would. Hold person and ambush. What does that mean? You might be wondering. Let me share with you what my idea is here. So not only can this guy, so here, let's do this instead. Let's make this legendary action. And let's make this, let's give him a legendary resistance, 2 per day. And let's give this guy bonus actions, right? He's a Lich. So the first one is going to be ambush. Redirect all minions to one target. And as any DM will tell you, any wise DM will tell you, nothing is worse for players than dealing with multiple different enemies at the same time. And so to take full advantage of the action economy, this is going to be pretty important. So here, I'll keep this for now. This is how kind of my process works. I like move from place to place as I get more ideas, and I kind of go with the flow here. And so I think what's going to be really cool is like if phase 1 is basically having the middle row of counter spells and magic DPS, or just counter spells most of the time. Counter spells plus CC, I think would be a good one to use. Plus low level CC, and frontline tanks. Yeah, so that's gonna be phase 1, and then phase 2 is gonna be. And then Lich can obviously fight whoever's kind of charging at him in the meantime, but the players will have to respond. So players will have to respond to the minions if they are getting ambushed, because that is the core fundamentals of responses, right? It's the core idea behind what responses are, right? Boop. All right, so Lich the back. Part 2 is gonna have a couple of interesting things. The first one, obviously, is the phase 2 is gonna be. So once the Lich enters one-on-one combat, I'm assuming there are some minions left over. I think that should be a must, right? I think the way I'm gonna use a stolen spell list is that once the spell of the stolen spell list is used, you can't use it again. So I'll mark it off. Therefore, the Lich gets 5 free spells. But then obviously he gets the other spells, which I think is fine. It's not necessarily a massive deal. All right, so Brawn of the Lich King, smites. So barbarians get rage. Rage is good. Rage is important. Rage is gonna make this encounter really fun. Because that's just barbarian stuff. Rage plus weapon attack, weapon damage rerolls, I believe. Damage rerolls plus reckless. That's going to be his general strategy as a barbarian. Now, this guy is also controlled by the Somnovum, and therefore he's going to access to some kind of psionics in the back of some sort. And so I think it's important to kind of think of what kind of psionics this guy can use, and I think that'll be attached to CC psionic spells, and that's when he's gonna start using more of the psionic spells. So Hold Person I think is just a good spell for him to have generally. I would think Destructive Wave. What is that? 5th level spell, creating a burst of divine energy that ripples from outwards towards everybody. Constitution saving throw, or take 5d6 thunder damage, as well as 5d6 radiant or necrotic damage. So destructive wave sounds fucking great. So let's add that to the list. Destructive wave. Give him that spell. Why not? Any other cool things? Do you want to give the Lich some kind of movement buff? Should Lich have movement buff? Nah. Because the strategy right now is to have minions and use the minions to his advantage and create a wall. So naturally we want to have like tank, 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 tank. So you want to have like 4 of them. Should be pretty easy to manage. Because they all have like very simple actions that they can do. 1 or 2 things maybe just one. And then we're gonna have 3 middle guys, and we're gonna have 2 range guys. So like that. And yeah. Okay. So legendary actions, stolen spellcast is one thing. Another thing is raise undead. Of course, it's a lich. If one of the undead falls, it can spend a legendary action and raise the undead. Um, and I think that's pretty good. I think that's very lich-like. It makes a lot of sense. And I like that. I think it sounds pretty cool. So I'm gonna try and do that for sure. Uh, yeah, this is a cool encounter so far. I'm really liking the tone of this and the general idea behind it. The encounter obviously will last however long the players let it last. I have no control over that. I'm willing to concede control over that. It depends on how they roll and what kind of convincing arguments they can make. Um, for they cannot beat a lich if they cannot destroy its phylactery. That is just the way it do be. Um, all right. So if that's the case, we have a formation over here, and the formation is what they're gonna be using for the most part. You have just a number of enemies that they're gonna be having to fight. The tanks are gonna just rush face first at them for melee DPS. The range DPS is kind of the most important. It's gonna basically be spittles of acid and necrotic energy back and forth. Um, Basically a reskin Eldritch Blast of sorts. Um, that's kind of my go-to range spell for range DPS enemies is Eldritch Blast. It just works really well for the D10 plus the Anguished Blast if you have that. If you want to use an invocation onto your enemies. Okay, cool. I think this is looking pretty good. I'm excited for this already. It looks pretty damn sick. Oh, the sun's out. Excellent. Can't wait to go outside. All right. So reactions parry. He's a barbarian. That's one of the key things I want to get out of this encounter is to show that this guy is indeed a barbarian. So having him kind of use brawn in phase 2 mostly is going to be great. And really, I do want the party should realize, ideally speaking, party should realize that they need to negotiate. Because if they don't, it becomes a battle of attrition, and at that point, it's out of my hands. At that point, I give it to the dice, and we'll see what happens. But the players, I should ideally put enough cues in there to make it to the other players know this is a negotiable fight. You can negotiate your way out of this, and ideally you should because you don't know how to kill the phylactery. You do not know how to destroy the phylactery. Um, doop 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 doop. Uh, so I think what'll be good over here is actually to watch a video. That comes later. That's the last thing I'm gonna do is watch a video. Before that, let's just keep building up this encounter real quick. So let's gonna command his units. Back row of range DPS, acid spits, attack, roll, That's the best attack roll. So Eldritch Blast, that's a D10. D10 plus 2. Damage, low level CC. Low level CC is going to be, so counterspell plus low level CC is going to mostly be like rough terrain. So like necrotic ooze terrain. That's about it. And they can be strength or dex saves. That's fine. Either way. The frontline tanks do multi-attack, two targets, greater than 15 roll. Otherwise, one target. Yeah. So if Ragnar rolls 15 or greater, 15 greater than equal to 15, on his roll, he gets to target 2 with Raise Undead. And otherwise, he rolls against one target, and that's about it. And that makes a lot of sense. So frontline tanks multi-attack, and each of them would basically will do like a claw and bite basically, and we can steal less. So this is basically going to be like a D8 plus a D10 multi-attack. Like I said, the tanks are really strong, and I want to make sure that the encounter seems a bit more deadly. Otherwise, I can always tweak this to make this a D8 if necessary, and that's not a problem either. All right. Doop 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 doop. What else do you want to add here? I'm not entirely sure, honestly. I think generally it looks pretty good. No? Can I change the font? I cannot. Of course I cannot. Alright. Yeah, okay. This is looking good to me. I want to go ahead and quickly change the color of this. Make this a nice orange. Ew. I take that back. This orange is terrible. This orange is nice though. No, it's not. Never mind. I take it back. Ew. Go away. God, these color palettes are not entirely the best. Let's go and give this guy a blue, like a nice eldritch blue. That's more like a sky blue, but that's fine. All right, yeah. So these are the notes that I have. Goals of the combat, the phase 1 and phase 2. I want to highlight this in a yellow. I'm gonna highlight this in a yellow so that we know exactly what kind of phases we have going on over here. We have party objectives on the side over here, and we have DM objectives over here, and that's good. Having those is important and necessary. Alright, I still need to finish up the Lich encounter, and then I can watch the Shadow of the Colossus video real quick and get it done with. Alright. So, continuing on with this, his actions: 1, multi-attack. Multi-attack for 3. D20 plus 5. Sorry. Weapon proficiency is plus 7. Plus 8 because he's a Lich. And I think that's fair. Because the frontline spellcaster has shield, which usually protects him from most attacks. My rolls can suck really badly, and that's good. good thingamajig. So, oh, I know what to do about this. All right, so d20 plus d20 plus 10 on a multi attacks. Hear me out. He's a barbarian, so R2. Otherwise, L1. So if he's not enraged, he takes one attack. He makes one attack. No, 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 no. That makes no sense. It's rage 3. Else 2. D20 plus blah, blah, blah. And then it's D12 plus legendary weapon. Does he have a legendary weapon? This is an important. What is he? What are the loot? This I should have thought about this a little bit earlier. What is the loot that he gets? That the party gets? So let's say it's D12 plus 7 for now. Wait, let me. What's a dragon stat? Dragon. How much damage do you do? Let me look real quick. So an adult red dragon, on hit does plus 14 to hit, and then does plus 8 on hit as a modifier. So a D12 plus 8 makes sense to me. But by that, all right, this makes sense. So spellcasting, and what other cool necrotic spells exist? Doop. So if they do manage to best the guy, like he'll come back, like his skull or whatever will still live on, and it'll just reform, and that's the idea here. Corrupting touch. Ooh, what is it? Oh, what the beholder race? Beholder zombie is CR5. So beholder zombies have disintegration ray, enervation ray, paralyzing ray, fear ray. So beholder has 9 rays. Sleep, petrification, disintegration, death ray. The target dies if they remove it to 0 hit points. Telekinetic ray, enervation ray, have one successful one. Fear ray, slowing ray, paralyzing ray, charm ray, telekinetic ray. Yeah, okay, cool. Telekinesis. It's not a, well, it's one. Okay, he only gets one reaction, right? And that's important to know. He only gets one reaction per round. He does get multiple legendary actions though, which you can interrupt on people's turns. So raise undead, I think, is not the only thing he should be able to do. He should also be able to do something which is pretty 2 per round. Now I wonder how people think this is too broken. We'll see. The important thing is with alternate combat, it's going to end really fast. So I want to make sure that they experience as much fear as they can any time they do. So legendary resistance over here. So legendary action, you should be able to do one of the beholder things, I think. It'd be pretty funny because the mad mages would probably provide him with that ability. So we'll go ahead and call this some Novum sword, cursed item. I like this. Oh, this is going. I'm just brain typing over here, or brain dumping rather. So Somnovan sword is cursed. It does allow him to use telekinesis. Telekinesis on hit because he's a barbarian, and also allows him to use Death Ray on hit. If no diamonds, because we're nice DMs, if no diamonds, we instead do disintegration. Oh no, disintegration ray is worse than death ray. Fuck. Fear ray, charm paralyzing ray. Petrification is good. If no diamonds, petrification. Cool. I think that's good for legendary actions. Other than that, his actions are pretty straightforward. Spell casting, multi attack. I want to give him one more spell that he can cast. So let me go ahead and go to references, go to spells. Let's look at sort by school. Transmutation, necrotic. Here we go. High level necrotic spells. Can we go ahead and also sort by level, please? No, school. All right. Circle of Death, Contagion, Dance Macabre, Eye Bite, False Life. Negative Energy Flood is a 5th level spell. This is true. Oh man. No, I'm not doing that. Sorry. Soul Cage, Spirit Shroud. Spirit Shroud sounds pretty cool. Let's do that. Spirit Shroud is pretty sick. Might buff it up a little bit for this encounter, but Spirit Shroud's a cool spell to have. Spirit Shroud. Shroud. That's his BA. So it's not an action. It's just bonus action. We're just gonna get one more action. Spirit Shroud's a good one. I like that a lot. What does Blight do? Again. Target takes 8d8 necrotic damage and a failed save takes half as much successful save spell as undead or constructs. Target a non-magical plant that isn't a creature. Disadvantage. Blight. Blight is cool. Blight's a 4th level spell too, so it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Sick. Let's do that. So let's give him one last spell. Let's give him Blight. Spellcasting is good. Alright. That sounds good for this guy at the moment. In terms of what he can do. Kind of as telekinesis on hit is no longer a reaction. We need one more reaction. Let's give him a different reaction other than parry. Something more related to his command minions. Command minions in a sense of like Echo Knight save. Sacrifice. Sorry. Martyr. Damage. Yeah. Martyr damage is the two different kinds of commands he can use as a reaction. He can get a minion that's close to him to come in front of him and take the damage instead. Otherwise, very standard stuff. Otherwise, I just ask the minion to do damage as a reaction. Makes sense. So now we've given him 2 reactions that seem interesting. When he goes into the phase 2, I want him to start doing a lot more damage output by himself. Before that, I want a lot of his damage out to be caster and minion based. Like as if the party is stuck dealing with an actual formation, that's going to be phase 1, dealing with a formation strategically. Then phase 2 was going to be like him really breaking out the the level 2 boss fight kind of mentality. And going to rage, that's going to be an important one. See, psionic spells, more DPS from the Lich himself. That's going to be the challenge. All right, cool. So that looks pretty good. I like this. Now we made a full encounter. Basically, we have a full encounter set up over here from the lore tidbits to like what we're planning to do in the future. Great. I'm gonna put that down. Let's go ahead and quickly look at Shadow of the Colossus boss fight. Boss fight. Let's use the Gaius boss fight as an example. I think that's was pretty good. Oh man, I forgot how good this game was. It was fucking creepy. And exactly how it felt when the Ashen Wanderer came out of the pool of ash as well. Ditto, same feeling. Forgot how weird the camera felt. You feel so tiny when you fight this boss. Totally forgot about that. I love the camera work. It was so good in this game. Damn, just running all this distance would make me feel like a total... You're doing nothing, sir. This is how it's gonna feel when they're fighting the Ashen Wanderer. They're gonna be in this very specific situation. We can attack. Like a lunge of sorts. I love sound effects. So good. Yeah, the impact breaks part of the armor because the recoil is just that bad. This sounds so cool. I would love to do this. Just like get the Ashen Wanderer to like dig its tendrils, slam its tendrils into a place, and like have people climb the tendrils. Oh, that sounds so cool. Okay, I'm gonna write this down over here. Ashen Wanderer. Tendril climbing. Tendril climbing. Perched undead. Flyers. Would be pretty cool if it's just like a defense mechanism of its own. Perched undead flyers. Dream Stealer. Horrifying visage. Disadvantage on ability checks for a sec. Let me go ahead and move this back here. Boop, 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 boop. All right. Just for a round. That'd be pretty cool. And then the moment the attack comes down, it exposes something. Yeah, and then it gets stuck and you have to climb it up. That's so cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, so tendril climbing after it slams. It's slow because it's big. Great. I love it. Just stealing stuff like the plague, man. All right. Oh, I gotta grab. This would be so cool in D&D. Holy shit! I can't wait to implement this. And yeah, I was gonna grab the hair, make your way up there. Oh yeah, stabbing it. There we go. That's the weak point. It's gonna try and shrug you off. So it's gonna try and shrug you off. Shrug off. Weak points. Oh man. So cool. I know music I'm gonna be using. That's fucking sick. Look how much damage it's doing to the fucking health bar, right? It's so important. Oh, this might have been too loud. Alright, what happened to the weak point? Is it still there? Does the weak point move? I forgot. I forgot. I haven't played this game in a hot minute. Yeah, it's gonna try and move. Ah, weak point does move. Just as expected. So weak points that move. And move around. So the difference is Shadow Colossus is 1v giant, David versus Goliath. And D&D you have a party of people. It's like how do you make a party of people useful? I'm sure people come with their own way, but how do you make it engaging for the party? What kind of stuff can you do with a party and a Colossus? What an awesome question to ask. I love being a DM sometimes. Um, yeah, it's an interesting question because it begs a bunch of different design decisions, right? Because like, how do you with the action economy and them trying to make it so that you have to offer them a challenge at every single round. That's how you know shit's gonna go down. If they have a challenge in every single round they have to face and conquer, then then you find a solution to that challenge. So the challenge they can come up with is a shrug, very standard, fair. Tendril climbing is just a cool thing that gets them elevated off the ground. If they aren't flying, they could be flying. In which case, I'd fight against undead dudes. All right, and then you have the horrifying visage uh, that it kind of just has. It looks like absolute fucking batshit nightmare fueled stuff. And then you have the weak point system, which I think is valuable. Um, I think it would be important to overwhelm it. Magical overwhelming. So you need to get a spellcaster close enough to use a high level spell. High level spell at weak point. At magical weak point. Maybe it has different kinds of weak points. Now we're talking. Now we're talking business. Um, Physical weak points and magical weak points. And yeah, like, do you want to break this thing? Because this thing is breakable. Like, if you had enough force, you could make it bend to your will. You could make it like, if you hit the knee joint enough, it could like stumble a bit and give you some time. So you reward anything the player does, the players do. But yeah, what's interesting about this fight over here is that you just stab the weak point a bunch, and you move around as it begins to bleed. You climb up to the top. You stab, stabbity, stab, stab. Tries to shake you off. And it's slow. One more time. and you stab it, and you watch as it goes. Boop. Yeah, Gaius was a fucking sick boss, and he had fucking knocked off. Oh yeah, I forgot that it actually like grasps onto you. You know, I want to. You know what I want to happen. If there's a consequence that's yet to manifest, the Somnovum, like, okay, seen his death, plague him. That could be really cool. The consequence of dying is a Somnovum know you, hear you. True. This game is so cool. All right, that sounds awesome. So we now have context of what something you can do. Anyway, that's just cool. This is a little bit of ideation before we close out the stream. But this is good. This is nice. Got tons of cool ideas. Got an encounter going. I feel like this is one of the best design encounters I've had in a hot second. So I'm super hyped for this, and I hope the players like it too. And I will report back over here once the players have had their time to shine, and we'll see what ends up happening. It was cool. It's very very cool. I'm liking this encounter a lot. Seems pretty fun. Uh, doobity doop 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 doop. Make it versatile. You know what I mean? And I think the Ashen Wanderer, that's gonna be the next encounter, obviously, but it's gonna be a good opportunity to try and actually see how we can design for the player's tools. Designing a skill challenge that is based on the player's tools. That's gonna be next time. But for this Monday, I'm just gonna pray and hope that the players are ready for a fight with the Lich King, Lich Barbarian. That's gonna be super important. And let's see if how that happens and takes place. All right, sounds good. On that note, thank you whoever came to check out the stream. I'm gonna be streaming again on Sunday with some game design breakdown, not D&D related, just general game design. Probably gonna be looking at some MMO stuff, some open world design. Again, this time more about level discovery and how players learn how to navigate an entire world and how we get to teach them through bite-sized chunks of learning. Um, until then, until next Sunday, so 6 days from now, um, I will post on Twitter how the players like the encounter, and then we'll see how it goes. But yeah, until then, cheers. Have a great, great day, and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.